Hello and welcome back to Hindsight is 50/50. This is your host J-Rob with my co-host, the old retired guy. Dad, how you doing?
I'm doing good. It's spring. I'm looking forward to it. Finally get a little bit of break in the weather. We've had a couple nice days this week.
I've seen some motorcycles out.
I saw one the other day.
I got mine charging.
I mean, mine's ready to go. I want to put that stereo in it before I take it out. Now, that should only take me an afternoon. But yeah, I mean, I got mine on the trickle charger and it's ready. I'm just, it's cyclical, right? Like I'm so antsy in the spring to get out and do stuff, and then by the time fall comes around, like I'm tired of mowing the grass, and I'm tired of doing this or that.
I'm tired of the leaves.
Well, yeah, you got lots of leaves. No. I don't, but just doing everything. I just kind of I think it's only natural, but really looking forward to the weather, and it's been nice that it's been nice the last few days, and you can kind of sense spring is coming.
Yeah, I mean, like I don't mind snow, but I get tired of the cold. I really get tired of ice and slush, and my yard has been a skate rink forever this winter. And so it's nice to have the warmer weather. It's just like there's also that sense of dread, not just mowing the lawn and leaves, but I mean, I guess I'm pretty picky about weather, but it's
it's okay.
Like I love spring as it starts to get a little bit warm for spring. And I love fall before it gets too cold to be football weather anymore.
Fair enough.
But summer's too hot.
You don't like the hot. See, I can live with the hot. I'd rather have it hot than cold.
I will say this though, I have been in Florida, and it's kind of sticky, but I've been in Texas as well, and Tennessee, and none of the heat has really bothered me there. It's something about like the Michigan sun and Michigan heat that.
Well, I think we have a lot of humidity too.
And when we get a hot day, it's like when the sun beats down on you and kicks your ass. It's almost like there's an intensity.
But it's like Texas and Arizona, they'll both kick your ass. I mean, if you're down there at the right time of year for the right length of time being outdoors, I mean, Alan talked about it, still does.
Yeah.
There's so much stuff. It's like you run from the AC in the car to the AC in the house, to the AC in the car to the AC in the store, and it's like because when he's a marshal down there in Mazatlan,
yeah,
on a golf course, and he loves doing the day shift when it's super hot because he'll just take a couple balls and hit them around because nobody plays. It's too freaking hot.
Yeah, I mean, like I don't disagree with that at all. We definitely have much more like agreeable weather when it comes to doing things, and I think it would be like when we were in Texas, it was over 100 for a little bit. I think it would be hot, but it's the breathing that's different to me.
That's
like,
fair.
Even in Tennessee, when we were on our motorcycle trip, man, every time I got off that bike, I'd just be drenched in sweat. But breathing, being functional, even when we went hiking down there for little things, even high altitude, I could breathe better because there wasn't so much weight and humidity in the air.
That's fair enough. When we did a trip like in 2013 to out west, out to the Black Hills, but this was just Alan and I at the time. And I want to say we rode for 4 days in South Dakota and the surrounding states. We might have ducked into Wyoming. We might have ducked into, I think that was all, would have been Wyoming. But anyway, the least it was for those 4 days was 102. And the highest it was 108. It was not humid at all. And we're at a little bit of altitude compared to where we are in Michigan. in the mountains, and it was like scorching hot. And you, like, after the first day, we had to wear long sleeves and gloves,
You
even when
didn't
it
get
was
burned.
102 because and 105, so you wouldn't get
I will say
scorched.
this, and I mean, obviously, the advancement or technology advancement of clothing and stuff, it has been substantial over the years. But those fishing shirts, those SPF
With the
fishing shirts,
vents in the back.
well, they're just some of them don't have the vent. It's just a material.
Oh,
It's
okay.
I mean, it's a very slippery, loose material. I don't know how to explain it, and it's thin and it's meshy, but they are SPF protected. When you wear those, obviously you don't get sunburnt, but the heat doesn't penetrate it as much.
Huh.
And as you sweat, because the airflow that's through it, you cool down. So, like, I could have ridden my motorcycle shirtless, and I would have been 3 times hotter than I was wearing a long sleeve. Those fishing shirts are incredible, and it's what the tournament fishers sit out on the river all day in the
You
blazing
gotta
hot sun.
you gotta send me a link for those because I'd love to take
Yeah,
a
well,
look at it.
when we were on our trip, Alan, Jacob, and I all bought one.
Oh, okay.
Like, mine's
Did
super
Alan
bright
buy
blue.
that pukey blue and white long sleeve? Was that
It's
one
the
of
same
those?
style of shirt. I think he actually put his back and didn't buy one. But yes, it's the same shirt.
Oh, okay.
So mine is like really, really light, like baby blue. Jacob has another one, but his like tie dye gross looking thing.
Yes. Yes.
That's another
It's
brand,
a
but it's the same shirt.
but that was an Alan fashion choice.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I think he just came from like the Pride Parade or something. But you know, typical
That's
Alan
funny.
BS.
But I mean, it's getting it's obviously the Super Bowl's over. We haven't done a podcast in a while.
Got
And
real sick for a while.
yeah, you've been real sick, and
We
so
all got the flu. Then I got pneumonia, and it's been kind of a rough go. And we're hoping to be back on schedule now. But
it'd be nice. I think this is our 50th
it
podcast.
is. It is.
That's
That's why
amazing.
I thought it was cool you were coming over to record it in person.
That's amazing.
It's
It's
number
our
50.
50th podcast. So for whoever cares, that's pretty cool. You know what? And I've told people this, and I mean it. At least your kids, my grandkids, will have this.
Yeah,
To
I mean, memoir is like a bad word because it implies like you being gone now, but it's almost like a time capsule.
right.
And so, whether it's me, whether it's mom, whether it's the boys, if you're not here one day, which I mean, inevitably we all won't be
That's
here
gonna
one day,
happen.
it's like if they just want to hear your voice one more time, we'll have all these conversations, but it's not just like, oh, I have a 3-second voicemail he left me. This is,
Oh yeah, there's a bunch of stuff that we
disinterested conversation,
yeah.
interested, laughing,
Yeah.
joking. Like you
No,
get the highlights and the emotional
that's the
reel.
cool thing about it. If we never make a dime, and I doubt we ever will, if we never make a dime, that's the coolest thing about it. I know, like, Alan listens. Melissa's told me she listens, like, at
That's
work.
specifically the only reason I haven't stopped. Because,
Is
yeah, it's like if this was for financial gain, I would have stopped a long time ago.
because there isn't
But
any.
it's like well, it's two-part. It's one is we'll have that time capsule forever, which I think's cool. Especially, I know you were talking about grandkids, and it's like if I wanted to listen to it too, but it's like let's say mom's around for another 15 years after you.
Yeah.
It's like, well, with however many episodes we end up with by the time we're done, it's like she'll have all those to play on repeat, and hopefully there'll be so many and it's so long that it won't become annoying to
Yeah.
listen to a rerun, and it might be comforting. The second part of why I still do it is I think with cell phones and busy lives and all that in today's day and age, people don't sit down and have a genuine conversation just to enjoy having a conversation and make time for one another.
That's fair.
And I think doing that with your parents especially, is something that a lot of people don't take the time to do. And it's like, hold on a second. They spent a majority of their lives raising you, and then you're just going to turn around and raise someone else, but not either return the favor or have a relationship with them. So this makes us sit down and have genuine and, for the most part, kind-hearted conversations.
It's funny because your mom doesn't. It's not like she boycotts the podcast. She just doesn't listen. Like she doesn't have the. Like she'll listen to it once in a while for a little bit. But I know, like Alan, when he's marshaling, he'll listen. You know, he'll listen. I know you have friends that listen on
Yeah.
occasion, and that's cool. Daniel, I know, listens on occasion. I think Melba does. My aunt Melba does. You know.
Well, and I, obviously we learn and evolve as we go. And one thing I was thinking about recently is not only when we ask for people's insights, questions, or comments they may have, but also when we start to get more outgoing and more sarcastic,
Uh,
we're deeper into the podcast. And I just wonder how many people we've lost their retention by the time we ask for comments or questions or recommendations. And by the time we're giggling and laughing, if we're 30 minutes in and someone doesn't have that attention span, it might be an adaptation that we make to try and bump that up the schedule to see, because we really do want to know, all you listeners out
oh
there, if you
yeah,
have
yeah,
comments, concerns, questions,
absolutely.
constructive
We'd
feedback, any
love,
of that,
yeah,
topics you'd like us to cover.
suggestions, criticisms, whatever. I'm absolutely open to that.
Yeah, I
But
don't think Joe and Jacob listen either. Every now and then they
I think
do, but
Jacob does once in a while.
yeah.
Joe, he, thought we picked on him, so I know he was mad at me for a while over that, and I told him,
So
Joe,
what's
we
your
didn't.
opinion on it? Like, so you're like, oh, boo-hoo? Because for me, I'm the type of person that it's like, if you're gonna be offended and think I picked on you when I didn't, well, now, if I'm gonna be treated like I did it, I'm gonna do it. Like, fuck it.
Uh, when you get old, everything changes. You change. I'm not nearly as aggressive. I will tell you this. This is funny. This is a funny thing that happened yesterday. Your mom, she was looking at. She's had several people interested in your grandma and grandpa Scully's house. Okay, one of them is a real estate lady. She's an agent, and she had two different neighbors that said, "Oh yeah, we want it. We want it." Well, then neither one of them could come up with the money.
Right.
They didn't say your asking price is out to lunch. They just go away. So they make you believe that they're all hot and interested, and then they're obviously when it comes time to show me the money, they can't do it. So this real estate lady, I had heard your mom has a bad habit. Most anytime somebody calls her at home, she puts them on speaker because she wants me to hear it too, in case she didn't hear it. But in certain cases, she wants me as a witness. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this real estate lady, called her a couple of different times, and I mean, she was pushy and aggressive, and
I don't like that.
about wanting to. Number one, she was interested in the house. Number two, she was, you know, had buyers. I mean, she was all over the map and was really pushy. And so, and you know how much I like that in somebody.
You're a huge
And
fan.
yeah, and so your mom yesterday had to, or yeah, no, it was the anyway. This week, your mom went to show the house to this lady, and she asked me to go with her. So I mean, I'm locked and loaded because I heard this lady on the phone,
Yeah. See
and
you
it's
next Tuesday.
yeah, yeah. It's like we're gonna shut this shit down
Yeah.
right away. It's like, and again, I'm not a real estate agent. I'm not a real estate broker. but I did land acquisitions for a long time, so I know the nuts and bolts.
And there's something definitely like in our DNA that's an internal drive that it's like, oh, you think you're pushy? Meet the immovable object.
Yeah,
Like,
fight me.
see how much I care.
Yeah. So anyway, she shows up and was not like she was on the phone at all. I know she knows Uncle
Poker
Jim.
face.
I know she knows Jimmy Gordon, who lives next door, because she's a Vandercook person. I don't know if somebody got to her and said, "Don't push that guy the wrong way."
Certainly.
Yeah, but I think that's what happened because she was like,
Somebody goes, you're going to lose this entirely if you keep fucking. That's the wrong tree.
I mean, I was so, and I was
Mhm.
like, I hadn't done that in a while, and I was like ready. I was kind of excited about doing it.
I know it's not a proper saying, but it's like that's when I would go, somebody ought to put this bitch on a leash. It's like, you know, and obviously it's intended for dogs, but like, it's just, you know, I've had about enough of that shit. That's like, there's these, you know, the new thing to watch out for is like this travel van, you know, like the ones that used to have the curtains in the back.
Yeah.
There's like 6 dudes riding around saying that they're doing like surveys and local stuff, and they're going after children and single women.
Oh, Jesus.
And it's like the warning is like when they knock on your door and then they don't want to leave or put their foot in your door when you try and close it, it's like, you know, this is what they're trying to do. You need to get out of there now. Like slam the door, all this. And I'm sitting there going, one, I'm probably not going to open the door. Two, if I ask you to get off the property and you don't, there's going to be a dead body here. One of us. I'm betting on me killing you, but, you know, it's like I'm not playing that. And there's so many things where it's like, I don't. People are so used to being pushy, whether it's something illegal or whether it's just an aggressive personality, and it's been tolerated for so long that it's almost like people anticipate to get away with it. And it's like there are still people out there that you're barking up the wrong tree. And it's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
like I've told Ellen and Mary, my neighbors, it's like they're elderly and he's had some health issues.
Yeah.
And they like had someone around their driveway one night when we had first moved in.
Uh-huh.
And they didn't know who it was, and they had a flashlight out there. And then they were gone. Well, luckily we never heard anything ever again. I don't know what it was about. But I just told them, I'm like, I understand if someone's banging on your door late at night or something, you're scared, and you're going to call the police, and that's the right thing to do. The police are going to take 10 or 15 minutes to get here. It's like, you know I'm a gun owner, an avid gun owner. Just call me. I'll come over there, and at least we'll make them leave. But it's like Mason and I will come over.
Were they
there.
grateful?
Yes, they
Good.
were, and they've been nothing but sweethearts since. And it's like, if you don't want me to, that's fine. But because they had something, and then when they were out of town, someone came actually onto their property, and they have a camera, and no one broke in, but it was someone they don't know, and they don't know why they were there. And it's like, you know, I'm not going out of my way to hurt anybody,
No.
but when you're in your 80s and someone's trying to break in, it's like, just send me a text or give me a phone call, and I'll be there in 10 seconds.
You know, there's a thing about getting older that I don't know what it is. I don't know if you get tired, you get impatient. I don't know what it is. Maybe that's it. Maybe you get to a point where you've had enough of the bullshit of people getting away with bullshit.
I think you're jaded by seeing it all.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll be 70 this year, and so I find myself being that way. You know, your mom and I like hanging out. You know, we just enjoy each other's company. We really do. I mean, we watch when the weather's shitty, we don't even care. It's like find a movie or two, surround sound it up, make some popcorn. We're all good. And we were watching.
I almost feel like when there's limitations like that, it makes it better because you're forced to not do your own tinkering outside.
Yeah, but like when it's raining and it's a thunderstorm or whatever, or snow, you get snowed in. It's like we like getting snowed in. We're fine. We got enough groceries to last us a month. I got a generator, and I usually keep enough fuel around to run that generator for a while if the power goes out. So we're all good. But we were watching some show the other day, and it was one of those where it was so frustrating because it was like you just described. It was like the foot in the door kind of thing. And
Not okay with
as
that.
we were watching, I said out loud to your mom, I mean, I grabbed the buttons, I paused it, and I go, that son of a bitch would get a whole different kind of greeting at
Yeah.
this place, you know, because you know where I have weapons stashed. And it's like, they're not very far away, and they're in safe places. So I don't want to appear like I'm unresponsible and I got loaded guns laying around because I don't. But I do have loaded guns stashed. And
Yeah.
I mean, I but it just came out of my mouth. It was like I saw that and it's just like, man, that son of a bitch would get a whole different kind of greeting if they
Just
pulled
because the
that
world's crazy
bullshit.
today, like when
Oh,
it gets spring to summer and the kids are playing outside, it's like pistol's not in my nightstand. It's either in my hip or it's somewhere in the garage where they're not gonna get it, but somewhere I can get it quickly. And it some of the times it's in case the world's crazy. Other times it's because we live out in the country. Like when I first moved in and the little girl next door was coming over to play, she'd stay until it was like pitch black outside. Well, I didn't have a problem with that, but I wasn't gonna send her down the hill by herself. And so I would walk down the driveway, but it's like I never talked to anyone about it, but I always had my concealed carry because it's like you can hear that there's 20 coyotes out there.
oh yeah.
All we need is one to get too curious and we're in
Well,
some
and
deep
and
shit.
I don't know if you've seen a rabid animal, but I have.
A raccoon I have.
Yeah, they're not themselves.
No.
They
They
don't
actually kind of act like zombies. It's really
they
weird.
don't they don't act normal, and they're capable of doing weird stuff. So for that reason alone, I don't blame you. It's just funny how you get jaded. I guess that's probably the right word. You certainly,
You get
you
to a
you
point
had
where,
enough, you
yeah,
know.
and you're like, you know what? I'd rather peek the door with a gun behind my back, find out you're a good guy, and either A, you don't know, or B, if you happen to see it, I can apologize and just be polite, than for me to be wrong thinking you're nice and I'm not prepared.
There's I'm sure there are people, I hope there are people listening that are going, "Oh my god, what's wrong with these vigilantes?" And they live in an apartment in a big city or in an urban area, in a place like where you used to live,
Yeah.
in a nice
Where if you
townhouse.
scream for help, someone will hear it.
Yes, but we don't live like that. And it's like, I just don't think there's anything wrong. I don't necessarily call myself a survivalist, but I have more of those tendencies. Like, I don't have stores of food stashed up. Like, I think if it ever comes to that unholier than thou thing that could happen, that's a man-made thing, it ain't gonna be worth living very long anyway.
I
If
don't
that
think
really
so, but I also
happens.
feel bad for the people I've run into because it's like if all bets are off, I'm betting on me taking your shit, not you taking mine. I like, sorry, but
Well, I'm betting on me hanging on to mine.
for sure. But I mean, if I run out, it's like we can share or I can take it. But like, that's just. But I do think a country you live in does kind of change some of that as well. One, if someone comes up to your door and you don't know who they are,
That's funny.
what the hell? Because you're out in the
That's
country,
funny.
you don't get door to door sales like you would in a city.
Oh,
But then on top of that, it's also just some like being prepared. When I was whittling and I cut the tip of my finger off, I mean that I've pulled Joe out of a car accident where he split his head on a windshield. I've been in my fair share of all kinds of stuff, and I have never seen that amount. I mean, it was all over the bathroom. I couldn't stop the bleeding. Never once in my head did I go call 911 or go to the doctor. It's like I tried to stop it, couldn't get it to stop. asked my wife to help me to stop it. And then I had a moment to think, and I was like, wait, I have a clot kit. Go get this. She got in my dry bag, clot kit, did it. Never once went to the hospital. Not even after that.
Yeah.
It's just like, but again, like Salam, it's not, Salam is a good friend of mine, and he's not like girly in any means. But I used to tease him that he was a hypochondriac because he grew up way different than I did, and he grew up in a very urban
Urban
area.
area. Yeah.
And so it's like, if you have a small cough, you go get steroids and medicine from the doctor. And I'm like, I wait till it's pneumonia and then maybe. And it's just, so if he would have done that to his finger, there would have been 3 hospital visits. and it's like, and he'd have had a splint on it for a month.
And we love you, Slum.
Yeah. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I'm just saying, like, he would have been worried about it getting dirty, keeping an infection away. He would have wanted to make sure it healed properly, and all of the things that are quote unquote textbook is what he would have wanted to do. As to where I'm like, man, if I can get this fucker to stop bleeding, I'm pretty good. And so, and that's just
funny.
what's, you know, like, I think it's a good example because he's an avid gun owner. He's a gun nut. He's a guy's guy for sure. He's not girly or feminine by any means, but in that scenario, we're so polar opposite
Right.
about being taken care of that way.
Well, when your boys stayed over, we had them last weekend for one night, and when they stayed over, and we love having them, but the next day, the day when we were bringing them back, there was a knock on the door
Ooh.
at our house, and that just doesn't happen at our house. We don't have unannounced visitors.
Yeah, you
We
almost
just
paused like, what the
don't.
fuck is that?
And it was a new neighbor. His name is Brendan, and he bought Brad Stetler's house.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know he finally
Nice
sold it.
guy, single guy. He's a woodworking guy. Yeah. But he was asking me to help him unload a. Like, I go to the door, I'm in like pajama pants and a t-shirt.
At least you're not shirtless and bibs.
And he goes,
Squeal like a pig.
and I had met him before, you know, and he goes, like, I want to say the first thing he said was, how's your health? And I go, it's good. He goes, well, I've got this big thing I need to unload. Can you help me? And it's like, sure, I'd be glad to. You should have seen your boys run to the door when the knock came. It was like Christmas. They were so excited. Jamie was so excited. So I opened the door, you know, because I recognized him. I had met him and talked to him before. And so when I opened the door, Jamie is backing up real quick. He backed up over his boots and he sat, fell right down on his butt. They were both so excited that someone was at the door. But it's like, Jane will look at me and she goes, somebody's there.
Yeah.
Well, I hope so.
Alert.
I hope so. I heard a duck on the door.
I might be more concerned if they weren't.
Somebody better be.
But that is a tough thing with the kids because, like, when they met Santa, like, our kids didn't cry. They sprinted to go meet Santa. And they're hugging and jumping in the lap of a stranger. And you want to teach them stranger danger, but there's something so amazing and genuine about the innocence of a child that you don't want to rob them of that either, with how fucked up the world can be. Not always is, but can be.
That's fair. Jamie is openly ready to say his name to strangers.
Mm-hmm.
JJ is not. He's very reserved about it. He was with Brenda. And he knew that I knew Brenda. But he was like, Jamie's standing there. He goes, I'm Jameson Reed Sawyer. And JJ's like, I go, this is Jeremiah. And
he wants to know your motive. Like, he really does.
You could see the wheels turning.
And I think some of that's just, I mean, some of that's who he is, but I think some of that's a coincidence of how we've tried to teach him certain things. So because Jamie was so little, and JJ has been so cerebral since he was little, like, just really thinks about everything. We very much put the onus on him of like, if somehow you lose contact with us, you need to know what you're doing. And so, like, if we go to Frankenmuth Indoor Water Park, the first thing we do, and he'll tell you, it's like, what's our last name? What's our room number? And he has to know them before we do anything in case we get separated. He needs to be able to go to someone who works there and say his last name and our room number. And so like we'll get there and he'll be walking down the hallway like 303 Sawyer 303, and he'll just be doing like he loves it. And then it's like we'll go to the water park all day, and then the test's like, all right, Jay, lead us to the room. We don't know where it is, and he'll walk us down all the way, and he'll go 303.
He's really organized.
And he's been doing that for a year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah, he has been. Yeah.
And so I think some of that like tendency is like, again, you try and not push that jaded side on your kids, but it's like there are people who are dangerous. You can tell by their shirt and tag who works here.
Sure.
This is your last name and your room number. Don't listen to anybody else. And so I think there is that tendency of like, unless I know your motive, you don't know my name.
That's fair.
And you know, you don't want to make it like sad or heartbreaking, but at the same time, I take pride in knowing that I feel like he'd make it back, and we'll even do that where we're at the park and it's like, I'm not gonna go get Jameson. I can see him, or maybe he just went out of my view, but it's like when JJ checks in and it's time to leave, it's like I need you to get your brother. And there's been times where he went and played. We got in trouble for that. There's been times where he went, didn't find him, and came back. Not an option. So now it's like he'll go get him, and if he's not listening, he'll hold his hand and come right back. And it's like that's unfortunately you have to teach it, but that's one of those things where it's like he knows now that responsibly it's not just me.
Right.
Jamie has to be with me when I get, and it's the same thing with hotels in the room number. It's like he also has a little brother. You can't forget the little brother. You're always going together. And I do like watching that bond build and seeing how smart he is to understand it.
Well, we had such a good time watching The Wizard of Oz with them. And then I had another movie picked out that was an older movie. It was called War of the Worlds. It's the Orson Welles thing. And
the original War of the
Yeah,
Worlds.
the original one. And I remember when I was a kid, it scared the hell out of me.
So but you wanted to show my kids?
Yeah. Because it was harmless. It wasn't like the monkeys in The Wizard of Oz scared me. But when I was a little kid.
Yeah.
But so anyway, and you know, JJ is literally sitting on my knee in my chair. Jamie is sitting on, like, leaning next to your mom on her couch. And okay, you got popcorn. Jamie's, he's happy. He's watching. He's content. I could tell JJ was restless, and they watched for probably 40 minutes. It's an old movie. I hadn't seen it since I was a kid. It was older than I thought it was.
Was it slow too?
It was slow. The special effects were ridiculously bad. And about 45 minutes in, JJ goes, "Can we watch The Wizard of Oz?"
He had been wanting to so bad.
And we did. And I mean, they sang.
He brings it up all the time, and I go, buddy, I am sorry, but that's like the one thing I'm not going to play. Like,
why?
I don't know what, like, I wish I could.
It creeps you out or something?
No. When that movie plays, no matter what part I've seen, I instantly get agitated and pissed. And I don't know why. Like, I don't know if there's like a weird way in which it was filmed or the film color, but fair. It like literally puts me on edge to where I am pissy. And so I've never watched more than 10 minutes of that movie because I've seen During the Monkeys, I've seen Down the Road, it's like all these different things, and it's like I'm just instantly like, what the fuck? And I'm just mad, and I don't know why.
We watched the whole thing, and they, you know,
well, they love it and they request it.
I take that back. You know, the movie starts out in black and white. Yeah. And then it goes to color when she lands, you know, in Munchkin Land.
which is creepy in and of itself.
Yeah, yes, and then there's all the Munchkin songs and dance, which are good, but creepy in their own way again. So it was bedtime by then.
Yep.
So the next morning when we got up, we were right where she was starting on the yellow brick road where it's like a corkscrew
Mm-hmm.
and it winds out and she's headed to Oz. And I mean, they ate breakfast and that was the first thing they both said. It's like, can we finish watching The Wizard of Oz? It's like, yeah. And they did.
Yeah, I like that they're discovering what, like, for a long time, shit just happened, and that was just what it was. Like, they didn't make their own decisions or like things. Then it was, and it still kind of is, either it doesn't matter at all or I love it. And it's like, you don't love everything. There's like, and they've started to find and navigate the categories of shows and movies that they like so that they're actually entertained and they sit through the whole
Oh,
thing.
they're great
Um,
watching a movie.
the other
They're
thing
fantastic.
that I love is that JJ just incidentally teaches Jamie. Like Jamie's learning from him all the time. And so when I was talking about like how JJ just I don't he thinks differently than most kids. And not in a strange way. It's just like he thinks like he's older than he is. And it will be in the car. Well, because the car seats are different, Juliana and Jackson can never get the top unbuckled. And it's like
Right,
whether they pretend or whether they can't do it, I don't know.
right.
Well, JJ knows that it's a pain in the ass for me to go all the way around and do that. Like he can just tell. So it's like now, when we stop, first thing he does, he unbuckles his and he reaches over and undoes Juliana's so that she can get out too. Now Jamie does it for Jackson. And so
That's
it's like the
awesome.
part they can't get undone, they're like, I got you. And just those
That's
little
cool.
things I wouldn't expect a 3 or a 5 year old to consider.
Oh, that's cool.
Kind of expect them to sit there like uh, not useless, but just like mundane. Like they're, yeah, you're not out of your seat. Like they don't pay attention, but instead they do.
Well, we had, on the list of NFL, but I think we wait till we'll try to get another one in here in the next week or two. We'll get another podcast and we'll talk about it then. I wanted to talk about, we've got some shows to talk about that, because again, while this has been a weird winter for me. I heard an older lady in the hardware store, and this is another weird thing. I say this all the time. I go, "There's this older lady in the post office," and it's like, and then I go, "Well, I'm probably older than her."
Isn't that funny though? Like you never, even though you can be sore and feel old, you never think you're old. But also, I, at least for me, and I think Melissa's the same way, you're blind to your parents ever getting old until they're at that helpless
I'll be at
stage.
the drugstore or to get a blood work when people are lining up to either pick up a script or to do blood work or whatever, something where you have to give your birth date,
Yeah.
and somebody will be ahead of me, and they'll be like 7 years younger than me, and it's like, you gotta be shitting me.
Well, it's funny because Melissa and I were talking about it the other day. We were talking about you being 70, and I'm just sitting there and I was like, it's weird because like I know my parents' age, but at the same time, they're not old to me. Like it's like you didn't age after I got to like high school or something. Like it just it. And I know it's
Crazy.
because your relationship doesn't change and it makes it like a little bit mucky, I guess. But when I see you with my children, it's like, oh, there's a happy grandpa with his grandkids. But when I see you, I don't look at you and go, look at that grandpa. Like you just don't seem like an old grandpa to me.
I don't feel like one most of
Like
the time.
I don't, but it's even
Right.
visually, like I know you're older than me, but I don't think you look like an old grandpa. Like it, but and I said this to Melissa. I was like, I think we have this with like our family where it's like it can be age, it can be weight, where it's like I there's been points where mom hasn't been in the shape she wanted to be in.
Sure.
Never once in my life have I thought my mom's fat. Never once. That's never even crossed my mind. Whether she was or wasn't, I don't care. I never had that thought. I never saw it that way. It was just I don't know, like, it's like you're immune to that, and I think age is kinda like that, where it's like, I know you're gonna be 70, but it's like, you don't feel like 70 to me.
I, dude, I get it all the time, and it's I joke with people. I mean, my comeback is usually it's the alcohol because people never people. I mean, people guess me in my 50s all the time, all the time.
I believe it. I think
I got a
I
round
mean, you
face.
definitely have that, but, I don't know what it is, but I also feel like I have something like that, but it's like a overdue blessing, where it's like, when I was in my 20s, I probably looked like I was in my 30s. But when I get older, then I look
That's
younger.
I no, I
It's
get
like I
that.
always looked a little
There's
old,
some of that.
and
Yeah.
then I feel like I'm gonna hit this midpoint in life, and then I'll be old, but I look a little bit younger.
Well, it makes you feel good because again, there are so many times when I'm getting blood drawn and somebody's in line ahead of me, and you have to give your birth date, and I'm going, Jesus Christ, I'm 7 years older than that guy. It's like, man, I don't think I look like that.
But those little compliments go a long way.
Oh,
I
big
was telling
time.
Melissa today at physical therapy, I was like, none of them were in direct conversation to me, but it was physical therapists talking about me
Uh huh.
in front of me, almost like I wasn't there. Like I was doing exercises and they were having a conversation. But it was constructive. It was about what my plan and routine needs to be. But like 10 or 11 times in the hour and a half I was there, they referenced how large of a human being I am. And
That's always
I thought it
funny.
was hilarious, but I'm used to going to PT at like U of M where there's football players there.
Sure.
And so I'm a big guy, but there are some really big
Oh,
guys.
big time.
At this place, I am the largest by 10 fucking miles. I mean, like my therapist stands up to my nipple. He's tiny, and so when they're talking about putting these straps on me and pulling and doing all these things to loosen up my shoulders, and I've got like floating rib stuff, all this crap, and they're sitting there, and he's like, "Well, and you're gonna need to go get the big one because he's a bear of a man." Like they're just saying stuff like that, or they're like, "I'm not kidding. He's not gonna fit in there because his shoulders are about 2 feet wide," and they and I was like, not even like it boosted my ego. It was just hilarious to me to have someone reference, and it was not negative, you know?
I love Jennifer's office. Um, Jacob's wife Jennifer works at a dentist's office, and it's just up the road. And I love their office. It's very friendly. It really is. But almost all the people in there are very small.
Yes.
So by stature, I'm a celebrity.
I walked in there to pick up Jackson, and I was like, why is everyone staring at me? And I mean, I had my boots on, so I
Oh, they
looked like
know
I'm
who you
about
are.
6'3".
Yeah, but they know who you
Well, yeah, so Jackson wasn't feeling well, so Jen took him to work.
are.
And
Oh,
I was like, don't do that. And I called her and I was like, he can come over here. Don't make him sit at your work all day. She's like, are you sure? And I was like, yeah, it's not a problem. So I went and picked him up, and it's like itty bitty little
no,
ants.
they're all super nice people. And they're good dentists.
But anyways, I'm sorry I pushed us off track there. You
No,
were
no,
talking
no. I
about
enjoyed that. It was a great sidebar, and we got about 15 minutes to wrap things up. So, like I said, let's wait and we'll talk some more about the NFL because the draft's coming up. That's the end of April,
yeah,
and free agency started this
and
week.
spring ball in college will start
Yeah,
if
yeah.
if people have it.
Some are and some aren't, but a lot of them are just having. They're not doing what they used to do. And this is all, and that's something we can talk about next time. It's more NIL and more portal bullshit
Right.
that they've got to get this figured out because the timing of all of these open windows, these transfer portals. Anyway, I don't want to go there now because I wanted to talk about a few shows that we both have watched some of.
Yes.
The first one is the Bailing Out Loud about this gal. It's on the Learning Channel. She has Tourette's.
She's young and she's cute.
Yes.
And she has a cute sister who's understanding.
Yeah. And she has a boyfriend who's very understanding.
Okay. I haven't seen the show, but I've seen clips of her online.
And the dad's a little bit overbearing for my taste. But anyway, the show is just funnier than hell because she'll be, like, I think we talked about it once before. I think we talked about it in the last podcast we did, which was some time ago. But when she blurts out these things, and again, those in her close association, they all understand. Like, like you sent us this one clip. She was with her sister. She goes,
So
and her
funny.
sister is Sam. She goes, Sam has a penis.
Yeah.
And her sister's shaking her head. She goes, Sam has hemorrhoids. And her sister's shaking her head. Sam has vagina. Her sister nods.
Yeah. And she's just like, no, I don't. No. Yes. And it's just, but the best part about it to me is actually like their linked response. Because you can tell she's not saying it to be mean.
Oh, yeah.
And her sister's just smiling because it's like, she said, I have a penis. What's next? Like, where's this going? And she's nodding, saying no, and smiling. But then at the very end, she's like, Sam has a vagina. And she goes, yes. And both the girls just get the biggest shitty grin on their face. And it's like the fact that girl was stone cold and able to go, no, yes, because she was actually listening was fantastic.
When he took her to meet his parents, and his parents are like uber religious, very religious. Like, you don't swear in their house.
Got to be accepting of everybody.
And I mean, she was like, she met him. She goes, damn.
No. The GD.
But you know what? His parents were so cool to her. Anyway, I'm sure the show will play itself out soon because I don't think she can. There's a certain point where people start acting, and when they're acting, it's not funny. And I think the dad's already started that. He's being more overbearing on purpose because it makes him look good on camera or something. He's being more forceful and don't you dare hurt my daughter, I'll hunt you down.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, it's really entertaining. It's worth, I'm sure it's available, on demand in various media outlets. And it's really, I enjoy it. Now, your mom and I watched this show called Night Agent. Have you seen any of it?
I've seen the first season. And I liked it. It had a couple of slow moments, but I liked it. However, I think it may have been something that released during COVID.
Oh.
And so I think the second season had a long delay, and I never got back to it.
Okay, because see, we just started watching it, and we were into the second season, I want to say 5th or 6th episode. Okay, first question about The Night Agent. It's on Netflix, right? Yeah. First question for you about The Night Agent. His girlfriend, hot or not?
I'd have to see a picture of her right now.
The short, little, kind of dark complected, short black hair.
It's been so long. Let me see. I'll look it up right now.
So anyway, yeah, while you're looking that up, we have her. Yeah, that's her.
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Oh, I don't think that's tough at all.
I think she's hot, but I also think that, like, wake up in bed, she's a little bit like ratty.
I think we're both past that.
Well, I'm just saying, like, she's one of those people that, like, when they wake up, like, the hair's ratty, the makeup's not done. You're like, what the fucking werewolf happened?
But you look swell. Here. You look swell.
Well, I don't change anything. See, I don't. That's what that's what people don't understand is girls are just real life clowns. they put on all this fake shit and all these masks.
There's
So
a Seinfeld episode about he sees this one girl and she's like gorgeous, and then he sees her in the wrong light. And
yes,
she's like, ugh.
but I think there's some truth to that.
That's
And so it's like for her, it's like done up. She's gonna be the hottest girl in the room, but not done up. She might be run of the mill or a little bit better. Like my wife Melissa, you can dress her up really nice and she'll look really good, but she's already got a starting point of like when she wakes up, I think she's naturally beautiful. So when I look at her, I don't the makeup, the hair done, it doesn't matter. This girl to me, if she's not done up, she'd look a little ratty and weaselly. I don't know what to tell you. That's it. I
so
mean,
anyway. I was just curious about that. It's action packed. I think he is a very good actor. We actually first saw him in a Ron Howard movie
yeah,
uh, called Hillbilly Elegy, and it was based on a
about the
book,
VP, right?
yeah, by J.D. Vance, and he played J.D. Vance.
He's got a quality in him. When I watch him, and you know, they're somewhat similar in appearance, but it's something about the almost like the intensity or pain behind their acting. The guy who is in Avatar,
Oh yeah,
he
yeah,
was in like a Terminator movie. He was in a
yeah.
movie where he became an alien. Like they did tests on him and stuff. That guy and the guy from The Night Agent, they both have this acting face where you can see the strain and puzzle. And I think it, like, you can't teach it. It's something you're born with. It's how some people have resting bitch face. These guys naturally look like they're struggling.
No, I get it. I get it. He's like, well, do you remember this baseball player? I know, isn't that Felipe or Ryan Felipe or something that who you're talking about from?
Sam Worthington.
There
Is
you
who I'm
go.
talking about.
Okay, I get those two mixed up all the time. Him and Ryan Felipe.
Anyways, you're talking about a baseball player.
Yeah, I mean, you were saying that about how his acting says that. There was this guy.
That's Shooter. Yeah.
Yeah, there was this guy that he was a big lefty and he pitched for the Braves. I think he pitched for multiple teams before it was over. But he had a couple years where he was really hot. And his name was John Rocker. And I mean, this guy was the biggest redneck I have ever seen in professional sports.
Yeah, he looks like he was born with a
And
mullet.
he was a dumbass and he would say the stupidest. He said racist shit. He said stupid shit. And you could just, he was one of those guys when you saw him and you know, and it got to a point because he was so outlandish. People want to get him to say something because you know it's going to be something stupid.
Yeah, you want to catch the mic'd up
And
moment.
it's like you could just see this guy just gripping inside. He was trying to keep himself from, you know, from barbed wire to come spilling out of his mouth, but he couldn't stop it.
He's also got a steroid neck. That probably didn't help.
Yeah, he was, you know, he had a short term of success.
I
But,
wonder if that was all steroids. Though.
I mean, he was just, that guy was the worst. But relative to the guy, the actor that you were talking about from Night Agent, but we found that to be very good. We are on season 2, and I think we're about episode 5, and there's 8 or 9 episodes per season. And then um, you've watched the first 2 seasons of Reacher?
Yes. None of
And-
the third.
Okay, we have watched. In fact, I think the next episode we're all caught up, and now they come out once a week. You know, so I
Right.
think an episode comes out today, and we've seen everything up to this point, and it continue. I'm surprised at how good it is. I loved the Jack Reacher movies. I really did. With Tom Cruise, I thought they were great. I thought both of them were great, and I was really reluctant about this one.
Because of Alan Richardson or whatever.
Being that smart, that Reacher's that smart, and he doesn't look like he's smart.
Yeah.
But that's way judgmental of me too.
Well, for me, that Alan Richardson love him as an actor. I liked him back when he was in Blue Mountain State. He's got like a quirky party side. He's got a serious side. He's also a fairly big dude, and but he's also like shockingly good Christian religious to the point where people can't believe that he plays Reacher because of his actual lifestyle.
Oh, I
Like
didn't know
all the
that.
things that he does it as like a pass because it's acting, but like he's not anything like it in real life. But regardless, uh, with him, I like it a lot more because the books about Reacher, which obviously were before the movie and the show, Reacher is he's super smart, but it's like steel trap memory smart, but to the point where it's a curse. So it's not like he's a super genius like a Sheldon on Big Bang Theory or even like an Elon Musk today. He's just very knowledgeable about the things he's been involved in and he doesn't forget them at all. But he's so OCD. That's why he doesn't forget them. But it makes his social quality incredibly awkward and to the point where there's no emotional reward for him that's outside of the tiny little OCD protecting someone. That part I really like about the show Reacher. I also, I mean, Alan Richardson is a very large man. He's jacked and about 6'3", 250 in real life, and Reacher's supposed to be like 6'5" or 6'6" and 260, but that from the books at least. And that was the only thing I didn't like about the
I get it.
movies. I
I get it.
thought Tom Cruise did a great job and the movies were great. It was just Tom Cruise will always be a little guy, and Reacher is supposed to be this stoic, smart mountain of a man that's almost like mythical because he's such a presence.
The I had the same thing with Matt Damon in the Bourne movies,
Yeah,
and then I watched them, and they were great. I loved those movies. But I'm with you, and I get that. I had a little bit of that with Tom Cruise too, but I got over it, and I did with Matt Damon. I will say this about season three. I think it's every bit as good as the first either of the first two seasons. I'm very interested. I'm looking forward to watching the next episode. And there's a lot of gratuitous above the waist nudity by him.
it seems like they've even amped up the like badass moments
Yeah,
because I've
it's
seen a couple clips that I they just popped up, but like the moments like when the lady in I think it's the second season when the lady is at the ATM trying to get cash and there's a guy carjacking her and her kids in the car and he can tell that she's been beat up but he has no idea who she is and he's like carjacking and she's like yeah and she's crying he goes is that your van over there and she nods and he goes keep looking straight forward it's your kid in the van she goes yeah and he just walks over puts his jacket over his fist punches the window out and then grabs the guy, pulls him out of the van. Moments like that where it's like this epic hero. I've seen that there's quite a few highlights of that this season so far, and the smart ass exchange with the bad guy.
do you remember the movie Weird Science? Where the guys invent the girl, the perfect girl, Kelly LeBrock, in
Is
their
that
house.
Brendan Fraser?
No, that was Anthony Michael Hall.
Let me see. It sounds really familiar. Did they like go to high school or something?
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Yes. And she's hot. Yeah.
yeah. Okay.
Oh,
Anthony Michael Hall.
he's from Breakfast. That kid's from Breakfast Club.
Yeah, but you should see him. He's in this season of Reacher, and he's like a 60-year-old guy.
No way.
Yes, he is. He plays like a rich dad.
This guy.
That's him.
Yeah, I've seen him in some other things. Yes,
Yeah, that's him.
it isn't that crazy because I'll see like the the now versus then, and it'll be like the kids from the Sandlot, and you're like, oh, they're not kids anymore. Like it's like they never aged.
I've been getting pestered by these yearbook not yearbook, classmates people. And, you know, I haven't paid to join or anything, and I'm not gonna. But I recently I updated a photo and I put in, uh, you know, they want you to do a then and now photo, so I did that, and it was just, I'll show it to you. I'll dig it up sometime, show it to you. It's funnier now. You know, because I mean, that's 50,
I think it's hilarious when they do it with
it's
siblings.
52 years ago. And I did a photo then, and then a photo from like a year or so ago. And I set them next to each other, but it was just funny seeing him in that show. I was surprised. I didn't obviously didn't know he was going to be in it, but Reacher is you know, again, I'm very much enjoying it. I think there's a new episode today. Resident Alien, the third season is on Netflix. I think we're at like episode 5 on that.
How many episodes are per season? Do you know?
Either 8 or 10, something like that.
So I want to say it's 10 because I think I'm on like number 9 of season 2.
It's
I'm right towards the end of but I haven't seen any of season 3.
he falls in love in season 3 with another alien who's a bird. She's a
he gets
great
turned on
big
by
blue
birds.
bird.
Yeah.
Yeah, a great big blue bird.
There was a thing in season 2
And
where
I
he was
mean,
talking about how sexy a bird was.
and they have sex all over the. I mean, it's just funny and gross, and I mean, even the theme song I like. It's funky, and your mom does too. It's like, you know, the theme song will play and it's dun 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 dun, and we'll both be sitting there, and you just kind of stop as it
Yeah, it's like
hesitates.
the intro is almost like it's a crime scene investigation, but then with humor.
And the black police chief is, he cracks me up. Big Black.
Yeah.
And by the way, in season 3, they don't call nobody calls him Big Black anymore.
It seems like it's dying off in season 2, but
It did.
Like,
but when he goes, you can
says
call me
thing.
Big Black.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't remember what he said, but like he was leaving a voicemail for one detective that he's got the hots for, and the girl was like, "I knew you guys were the deputy was like, I knew you guys are gonna have like 10 babies before he hangs up the phone." And he's like, "Well, now he's like, I should have just sent her my balls." Like you'll just say things like that that are so funny and out of pocket completely, and I like that to me is if you like slapstick humor, all that, it's in the show. But at times it can be over the top. There's other times where like the theme of the episode is kind of but the awkwardness of the show has this charm that is endless to me, especially because they've really leaned into the alien remaining awkward instead of assimilating.
Yes.
And so like when he's sitting there,
Like
Asta just met her mom.
The Greys assimilate, but he, as much as he tries, can't.
Yeah.
Like a Grey can hide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and then you find out his like whole previous existence as Goliath. He essentially was retracted from society as an artist. So I mean, it makes sense, but like the episode I just watched, Asta goes to see her mom.
Yes.
And she's a fuckwad.
Yes.
She really is. And he like gets in the car and doesn't. He knows he's supposed to say something nice or make the mood better because he feels terrible knowing Asta's situation, but he doesn't have much to say, and it's just coming out real awkward. And she goes, "I know what you're trying to do. You're just trying to make me feel better." She's like, "I'd rather you just be honest with me." And he goes, "Your mom's a pile of shit. Poo poo." And she goes, "Caca." And he goes, "Shit bag." Like it just goes, and it's so funny.
You know,
like how abrupt and rude he gets, just like the old man who's got cancer, and he's like, "You're dying." Like it's just like, yeah, no bedside manner.
But you know how the
And he's like, "Thank you for being
Fairly
honest."
Brothers movies are like rude like that.
Yes.
this has those kind of characteristics to me. This show is it's like a Farrelly Brothers movie, like something.
It's like The Jerk.
Yeah,
like you just don't fucking get it.
Yeah, yeah.
He hates these cans.
But something that everybody does, they'll play on it, and he is the perfect. He's perfectly cast in that role.
Like even when he does a voiceover, I love in the last episode he's talking about like how his ancestors started like fish and then they learned to walk and all this stuff, and he gets sidetracked and starts talking about fish and how they get attracted by fishermen because the bait, and he's like sitting there relating to a fish for no reason. And he's like, and I mean, think of the fish. They catch you, they measure you, then they throw you back. And he's like, but then again, if somebody had pizza out there on a hook, I'd probably like he relates to it, but there's no logical process to that.
I like the guy who owns the diner.
Yes.
Asta's adoptive father.
Yes, he's awesome.
He's a cool character. He's like native, and he's a cool character.
And he's very understanding and go with the flow, but still recognizes like it's like, well, we're in deep shit now, but at the same time, he's right there with you to get through it.
Right. This was one of those shows I started watching. It was on Sci-Fi. I think now it's on USA Live. Well, current.
It's one of the few shows that in fact, it might be the only one right now that I watch. And when the alien says something outlandish, I like actually audibly laugh out loud. Like I could watch a funny moment in Friends and smile, or just like laugh in my head, or Kramer in Seinfeld where he's like, "Yeah, cat fight."
Yeah,
you get a grin on your face, but you're not like busting out. But this guy will do some shit, and he'll say something, and it's just like, I mean, I'm shocked that he said it, and it cracks me up.
I really enjoy the show. I think it's well written. And it's well acted. But hey,
you look like you'd be a biter on the battlefield. I just love.
We've got next time we'll talk some NFL draft, etc., and we'll have some more, hopefully some more episodes of these shows to talk about and some others. But yeah, it's time to knock off.
Yeah, absolutely. So to all of our listeners out there, if you're still with us, we appreciate you. Again, if you have any comments, questions, or ideas, topics, please let us know. And thanks for sticking with us this far. We hope to see you guys again. So be safe, be smart, make good choices. Peace out.
Happy 50th.
Yes. We made it. The big 5-0.
Happy 50th. Love you.
Love you. Bye.